is 9:30 on a Thursday night, and you're tuned in to Beltway Radio and Beyond, which can mean one and only thing. This is ChipChat. Welcome to ChipChat. I'm your host, Chip. Who are you, Tez?
You just told him, buddy.
Woo!
We've made
2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row. We're on a roll.
Yeah, that took me a minute. I had to think a little harder there for a second. Welcome to another Thursday.
Another Thursday. We are still here.
It's like we never left. I just finished listening to the show from last week, actually.
Yeah.
That's how long it takes me. Which brings me to my first follow-up update.
Okay.
I made a mistake last week. I incorrectly identified the team that had their wins vacated in 2013 as Kentucky. It was Louisville. That's a bad mistake to make if you're in Kentucky. I know them fighting words.
Oh, God.
Don't worry. Mitch McConnell went to both of them. That's true, and that's why he keeps getting reelected.
Yeah.
The second part of that, of course, is that I went and found this shirt.
Oh, God.
That I wanted to make sure that you
Propaganda.
understood.
It's propaganda.
That, you know, we are the national champions because the team that scored more points that game had their win vacated.
That's not a real thing.
That is a very real thing.
No,
they had
it's
their
not.
win vacated.
If
It
you
said it right in the screenshot I
If
sent
you
you.
score the points,
Also,
you win the game.
They got an unfair overtime because they called a foul that wasn't a foul, and everybody saw it. The VAR was like, yeah. And they were like, we hadn't been invented VAR
I was
yet.
gonna
It's
say,
2013.
Yeah, when I was like, VAR, it's 2013.
Shut up. Also,
Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
Real champs.
Anyway, there will be more updates later.
Of course.
Yeah, there's more stuff.
Yes.
We have a special edition this week.
Yes, we always do. We always do.
Our guest, we have a very special guest, actually.
Yes.
This guest is really mostly for you.
Yeah.
Which explains how you were so prepared today.
Exactly.
What did you say when you came in?
I said, this is the least prepared. I know I say this all the time, but this is the least prepared I've ever been for a show.
So that means that.
So there we already know where to start.
Yeah, this is going to be really good.
We'll skip past the preparation. Duh, we know I need to do that. But once I prepare, what do I do next to have, I don't know. I guess a successful TED talk. I don't know. Like, what he's doing is real.
That's what we're going to find out.
Exactly. He's a professional communicator.
He's a professional.
Amongst other things.
We're going to talk to Tom. He is he's in charge of the TEDx stuff in one of the TEDx's, and so he helps people build and give their TED Talks.
I have some questions.
Which, maybe you can learn how to do it. We've had several TED speakers on this show, so we're moving up.
And then you got me
and you, of course. Congress is making deals. There was an interesting vote today, which we're going to have to talk about.
God, this is the most I've seen Congress do in some time.
Don't worry, it was a symbolically useless vote.
Sometimes they don't do that.
But it is related to the next thing, which is the kids are protesting and don't seem to understand why. That is a very critical thing. We're going to have to talk about that in depth because that is more complicated than people seem to be covering. And it is, it's detailed.
It's detailed. It's also, the media does kind of seem to be wanting this like 1968 story that they're trying to, and it's very.
They're not the only ones, though.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people who want it to be that,
but it's not that.
But it's not that. So we're going to talk about it. That. And let's see. There's of course Trump trial updates.
Always.
He was, farting himself awake in court again. And then posting about it, how he was definitely not asleep and yelling. He did post sleepy Joe Biden. No, it was a joke he posted. He said, "Where's Joe Biden asleep? That's where." And he posted that at 4:30 in the morning. Yesterday.
Insane. I mean, they say some of the time when he's closing his eyes
that he's listening.
Not even that he's so angry that they've given him that as like a coping mechanism.
Yes.
So that he doesn't like explode in the court. It's which I'm like, the
list of things they're doing to try to like keep his attention is very much like what I do for my toddler.
It's like deep breaths.
Yeah. Which zone are you in? Are you in the green zone still? Are you feeling a little yellow? You're feeling a little yellow? Okay. Do you want to take 5 minutes? You can have 5 minutes. Go ahead. You need to watch Bluey? You can watch, it's that.
This is shameful as a country.
Yes.
This is really shameful. Like, anyways. This is the first one. We got more to come.
There's more to come.
Insane.
All right. Also, there's going to be some updates from last week. We already had one of them, but Arizona factors in, and so there's going to be a lot of stuff. You can say it's a packed show.
Yes.
Yeah.
To
say the least.
Yeah. As we usually have. We don't have. There's never a slim
We're
show.
Never light.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And never come in here with like fewer than 25 pages.
Yeah. It's always packed.
Somebody's got to prepare.
Someone has to prepare for the show. Exactly. This shit would be over, or it would go off at 10:30.
Brian, don't get any ideas. Oh my God.
We're shooting for 11 tonight. I feel it.
We're trying.
I feel it.
All right. So do you have a word?
Yes.
Okay. I have a word as well. So we'll see if this works. So sit back, grab some
embers.
It's driving range time. You're listening to the best show, the only show, Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's popping out?
All right, so we have a segment this week called Congress Does What Now?
What?
So as you know, if you follow this show, we are here in our nation's capital, or in the capital region, I guess you could call it. Fairly, we're technically just outside the district right now at the studio, but we are DC kids, and so Congress's behavior affects us more profoundly than it does the rest of the country. Yet, of course, we can't contribute to that at all, as DC people can vote for Congress. So, which is why I live in Virginia.
Exactly. Insane that, again, you disenfranchise close to 700,000.
700,000 Americans can't vote. Isn't that great? And they live in the capital. Okay, so here's what happened.
So federal district.
Yeah.
I hate these people. I'm sorry. It's insane.
They should change Muriel's title to governor. Maybe that would just get some attention.
Just to do it. Yeah.
Just to do it.
Because what does it matter?
There's already 3 governors of not states.
Yeah.
You know, Puerto Rico and Guam and Samoa, they all have governors.
Right.
So why doesn't DC get to have a governor?
Yeah.
Governor Bowser sounds
sounds
sounds a little more dangerous.
Very
to be
intimidating.
Honest.
Yeah. Governor Bowser.
I mean, Mayor Bowser is like, all right, she's mayor. You know, obviously there's somebody above her. Governor Bowser. Yeah. Change the council to the assembly.
Yeah.
The DC assembly voted on.
Yeah.
Yeah, just change the titles.
We got shadow senators. We could easily do that.
We have shadow government, everything. Okay. Anyway, here's what happened. There was a special election for a House seat out in Western New York. This was a Democratic district. A Democrat won it.
Yep.
That was not unexpected. It was a trouncing, but it does speak to this thing where people are leaving, really, is what we want to talk about. So the guy who was in that seat, his name was Brian Higgins. I don't know if Brian got a picture of this guy, but there you go. Brian Higgins
He's a Brian Higgins.
Yeah, that's Brian Higgins.
Yeah.
Definitely Brian
It's
Higgins.
definitely him. It's never not been him.
No, yeah. He's leaving Congress to do what?
To run a local performing arts center?
Yes, that is correct. He would rather run
is
community theater than whatever kabuki theater is going on in Congress.
good for him.
Yeah, so he's been replaced by this guy who was a state senator. His name is Tim Kennedy. Another Kennedy Democrat. Shocking. That's not really the story. Also, the story is that Congress is so dysfunctional. These people are just looking for any reason to leave. He took that sounds like the first job he applied for.
Yeah, and I think it's telling because that means there are individuals who still want to govern, but it's also scary that we already know the people who probably should be politicians don't end up doing it because they're just like, why would I know? And then you have a few that are like, they're able to kind of, whether it's the fundraising, whether it's canvassing, whether it's like, it's a lot to do. And especially in this country, you need a lot of money to do this.
A lot of money.
It's not like, besides this one lady I heard about, I think, who ran a campaign. It's up in the Northwest somewhere. I forgot. She ran for Congress. I forgot where it is. But outside of that example, you need tons of money to win in this case, a federal seat, right, in Congress. And if you don't have people who really want to do this at a certain point, it's only going to be controlled by people who have the money. And where does that money come from? We already know that election finance laws aren't really where they need to be.
There aren't any.
We probably
corporations or people.
Exactly. We probably need some type of public fund
and limits on the durations of campaigns and all.
It's a lot. These people are leaving, and I'm worried a little bit of who ends up kind of taking these seats. But so far it seems to be hurting the Republicans.
Well, let's talk about who is taking these seats. Yeah. Okay. So the second part of this is, sometimes on this show we say things that sound like rampant speculation.
Yeah.
But they're not. No. Sometimes they are things that come true. And I know we look stupid, but we're not. No, sometimes
definitely not.
We know what we're saying.
Exactly.
Here's a good example. Remember last week or
at least
every couple weeks we've said there's a deal. There's a deal. So here's what you need to know. Marge has her motion to vacate locked and loaded. As a matter of fact, she's filing it next week. She's already said that. Her and Massey, Tom Massey, I think, is Tennessee guy.
It'll be on the changing table in the ladies' room.
Yeah, right. So they've you'll have to clarify the context of that.
Right. Matt
Gaetz left his stuff sitting in the bathroom.
Wasn't it on the changing table?
Yeah, on the counter or whatever there. Just with his plans to disrupt everything. Yeah. So just left it sitting out there.
That's how they break news.
He's coming up in the story, okay? Not in this story, but in future in the story, okay? So Marge has her motion to vacate ready to go. And the question was, is this going to happen to punish MAGA Mike for, pushing through or actually working out a deal for
punishing
Ukraine
yourself.
Funding and
not
Israel
him.
Funding or anything? Yeah, right. He doesn't want this job either.
Right.
Yeah.
It's already. We'll write about him in lore for a long time.
Reluctant Mike Johnson. That's going to be his nickname.
Yeah.
Reluctant
These
Mike.
Crazy bipartisan bills that he's able to push through. History. It's very weird that he would
And it shouldn't be history because all of these things are very easily agreed upon. But here's the reason that he's able to do it. It's because him and current Speaker Jeffries, have a deal in place. So we told everybody that we're pretty sure there's a deal. That's why Johnson was willing to move ahead, because he knew if something happened, they pulled this vacate stuff, that Jeffries would basically come riding to his aid. Well, it turns out that's true. House Democratic leaders announced Tuesday that they would block a looming effort to boot Speaker Mike Johnson, an unprecedented development that they've attributed to the GOP leader's help in passing foreign aid. So here's what you need to know about how stuff works that's going to allow this to happen. No Democrat is going to vote for Mike Johnson as speaker.
Right.
What is going to happen is Marge is going to throw her motion out there. There is a question that then gets asked, is there enough votes to table the motion? If there are enough votes to table the motion, it is put to the side and is not considered any further. The Democrats are going to vote with a bunch of Republicans also.
That needs them.
I'm not sure it's a majority, but at least
it's a good amount.
It's probably a majority of the Republicans, but it's a good chunk of them are going to vote with them to table the motion, which means it's just dead.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. It can't be brought up again, unless the speaker wants to bring it up for consideration, which of course he isn't going to do.
Then we're really in a different type of
well, until he gets fed up and he's like, I want out.
Exactly.
Motion to vacate myself.
Had to be crazy.
Paul Ryan did it.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck this noise. And they're like, Paul, did you just say fuck? And he's like, yeah.
Yes.
You know how bad the situation has to be in Congress for a guy from Janesville, Wisconsin, who pounds P90X and listens to Rage without knowing what the lyrics are, and to be like, fuck this noise.
You're on
the
wrong side and you listening to Rage. What?
They told him to take their music off his iPod.
Wow.
Because he was like, yeah, Rage Against the Machine is my favorite band. I listen to them all the time while I'm working out.
What?
Yeah, and Morello was like, do you ever listen
Are you listening to what they're saying?
Yeah. He's like, no, dude, no.
Just
you
vibes.
are the machine. You're not.
He's just vibes, huh? Okay.
He's just listening to the music part, the rage part.
Crazy.
He's not listening to the words.
Crazy.
Hey, a lot of people are like that.
That is true. You're right.
Okay, so that's the short version of the deal. Current Speaker Jeffries sort of basically, he told everybody, he's like, look, I'm not going to tell y'all how to vote.
Right.
You can vote your conscience on this. If it fails, worst case scenario,
they go into turmoil, right? It's
the Republicans shoot themselves in the foot again, and they got to go through 15 more rounds trying to find a damn speaker.
Like we kind of got the bills we needed so far.
Got what we needed, and if they can't find their ass from a hole in the ground, it's on them, and it's not our problem. If
election time, the voters will definitely, they'll let you know.
None of the discussions that we had in caucus were about saving Mike Johnson. Pete Aguilar told reporters the underlying motion to vacate was not discussed. The motion to the table was. So that's the detail of it, right? Dozens of Democrats, specifically centrists, have indicated for weeks that they'd be willing to step in to save Johnson if he brought up the foreign aid package. So there you go.
I mean, he protected himself with passing the Ukraine bill specifically.
He protected himself by doing the right thing and governing for 10, 15 minutes.
People don't dislike him like they dislike the other guy who'll be on cable news like the next day. Like no one liked Kevin McCarthy. So there's no way, and he wouldn't buck the party the same way that Mike Johnson would.
Johnson's a little too milquetoast to really elicit a lot of strong feelings.
Yeah.
But the stuff that he says and has supported in the past is
crazy,
pretty nuts. So it's difficult to square that. But it may be that he sort of stepped into these boots and realized that he's got to do a different job. He's not some backbencher hurling invective at the so-called enemy anymore. He's got to lead the thing. Sometimes it happens. Have you ever been promoted into leadership and you all of a sudden look around like, shit, I guess I don't get that ain't fun anymore.
Exactly.
I gotta work.
Yo.
That shit sucks.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm triggered.
March tweeted out that if the Democrats want to elect him speaker and some Republicans want to support Democrats' chosen speaker, I'll give them a chance to do it. That's how she said. Yeah, shut up. Whatever, lady. Again, she is going to factor coming forward. We're going to do our interview, and then we're going to have the stories about the protests and all of that stuff going on with the Israel-Gaza war. And sure enough, Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene are going to show up in that story, and not in a way that you're expecting. But
that's called a tease, right?
Yeah, that's foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, see, I've been paying attention to Tom teaching me how to.
There you go. Communicate properly.
Yeah. I'm learning, trying to learn.
Hey, that's all that matters.
All right, we're going to take a break.
All right.
When we come back, we're going to do an interview with somebody who's much smarter than us, and hopefully we're going to learn things.
Yes, and then we can have a second half of the show where we can try to implement those.
We're going to try to implement them, but we're probably going to just do what we usually do.
Yeah.
which is yell, make stupid jokes, and our audience sad.
Our audience. Sorry, Brian.
Yeah. No. Sergey or whatever his name is has to listen to us.
It's election year.
Yeah, he's out there. All right, we're going to take a break. You're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
Hello. This couldn't get any fucking weirder, so here's a new one. No, it's some hardcore shit. Yes, we are really doing this. Waking up in my pit of shame, to daydream in the dark. Doors are all open, no one will let you inside. The way you're living now is such a game, where you dream in the dark. And if one thing's for sure, you'll hit the liquor store on your way home. Because I feel so low, knowing that you won't be by my side. Yeah, and I just feel so low, knowing all I did was run and hide. Oh, and I just feel so low, to know a broken heart is never, never, never satisfied. I can't let it go, baby, I can't even try. This is for my baby, must be for my baby. Oh, be for my baby. These people act so strange to you when you're in love, knowing that you can't speak out, knowing that you'll never get enough. And I'm supposed to play so friendly like, how you be, baby, right? And I don't want to see you, hear from you, no, you don't know. One more time and I just feel so low, inside my broken heart I just can't let go. Yeah, and I just feel so low, knowing all I did was run and hide. And I just feel so low, fearing a broken heart, I lost all control. Yeah, I feel so low, baby, I can't even trust. A crowd polarizing moment. Half time, a little bit tense.
All right, welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez. Brian, who's that?
Oh, I'm still on. Let's see if it was, who is this by? Oh, Royal Headache. They're a punk band from Sydney, Australia.
Yeah, well, I mean, good little blues soul kind of sound, you know, little country blues.
That's what Chip is. You know, world headache.
Yeah. From Australia too.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, now
You this morning to the
yeah.
Exactly.
Go back and read my tweets.
Yeah, exactly.
I was pissed off.
He was pissed off this morning. I was like, so this. I was groggy trying to follow. I was like, oh. Wow.
Sometimes I hurl invective, and sometimes it's literate.
Most times.
Yeah.
Most times.
No, you give me a lot of credit. All right.
That's what I'm here for.
All right. Tom is an interesting person, and he's chosen to hang out with
Hang
us
out
for
with
a
us this
minute.
evening.
This is very concerning. He's an event planner and a theater guy. He also works advising folks on how to give talks to audiences, specifically TEDx talks. We, of course, have a long-running segment here called Tez Talk,
Yeah, somehow,
where you
some way, and you know,
bum us out about climate change or other things we're supposed to care about. That's the tagline.
There's the tagline. I really laid. There was like a good 4 months. I went really heavy, really dark.
Yeah.
Everything was, and I realized that was not the right approach. And I dialed it back. And we had some fun stories. We had some sports stories. We had some sad stories. We had stories about Metro. They got Brian upset. You know, we started to, you know,
branch out a little bit.
But now the
we're
Dance
gonna ask
Birds is
Tom
coming
about-
back because it's getting hot.
Yeah. Record setting.
Yeah.
So tonight, anyway, we're gonna ask Tom how to make Tez's talks a little better. That's the goal here. Just a tiny bit.
Just a tad bit.
Anyway, Tom, welcome to ChipChat.
Oh, hello.
Welcome, Tom.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get started, we have to tell this story of how you and I met.
I would love to hear
this. This is a pretty weird story. So you're the storytelling expert. Go ahead and tell the people.
It was a random Uber ride. I was doing Uber on the side, and you were a fare, and I was taken to the airport. So, I don't know.
Gainesville, Florida. In the
Wow.
swamp, literally the swamp.
Yeah, of all places.
Florida
I wanted out of there as fast as possible.
You were there in Gainesville?
I was sent to Gainesville for work.
Okay.
And it is full of everything that we make fun of about Florida all at once, all the time. Yeah.
You're not lying.
Get out of there.
Hey, thanks, Tom, for getting them back.
My pleasure.
But we got to talking, and you know, he's an interesting guy, and I'm not. And so then I got his information, and I said, well, look, if we ever, you know, can get you on the radio, we'll do it. And here he is.
Well, that's a very you're always on it. You're always on, you're always working for
always
the show.
Be looking for guests.
You're always looking
one
for
day
guests.
You'll get one.
Well, one day I'm working on it.
Well,
Tom,
I was keeping you in my back pocket because I know you used to do like big shows and stuff, and I'm like, I have to remember this guy.
So we both were waiting for the opportunity. We're gonna do big things together, I'm sure, at some point. I just
absolutely
not in Florida.
Coming.
I don't think I'm allowed there anymore.
Maybe not.
I don't know.
I don't know. They let a lot of people in Florida. Just saying.
Yeah.
Let me get something that makes Florida people upset.
Oh no! What's your book? Oh no! No!
I forgot we didn't have a book out here today. Yeah, it's the story of Molly Moon, Secret Society. Very good. Shout out to Tanisha Ford.
That's a lot of things. Okay. So let's get into this. So Tom, how did you start working with the folks at TED and get involved with all of it? And tell people what TED is, because people know, hey, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. They don't know.
Right. So I'll start with the TED stuff. So TED itself started out in like Silicon Valley. It was a bunch of, I think it was back in like the 80s, a bunch of like I don't want to say mucky mucks because that implies the wrong thing, but like engineering types, tech types, even in the 80s. And they all got together and said, let's just talk about stuff. And they made a little event. And then they started doing that so often, it started to catch on. And then it became sort of more of what we recognize. And then they decided to essentially franchise it, which is what you see all over the world and country now, which is just these independent cells that get instructions from what I call TED Mothership, and they just put on their own events.
Public radio.
Yeah. So TED's actually an acronym. It stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design. And which is sort of part of their branding, just where they try to put the emphasis on the topics that get chosen, things like that. I got involved in all this stuff because of my wife. So the local Chamber of Commerce, there's an organization that sprouted from them called Leadership Gainesville, and they kind of do it like a year over year. There's a class. So this is like back in 2018 or 19 or something. It was like LG 45 or 48, or I'm not in the club myself, ironically. But they do like capstone projects. And so one of the people in that class wanted to do the first TEDx Gainesville as that class's first, or as that class's capstone project. So everyone's getting all excited and they're like, I'll do marketing, I'll do this, I'll do finance. And like, they get to my wife and like, what do you got? And she's like, talk to my husband. He's in theater. He'll help. So
you can do the lights and build the set and get the sound and all that stuff.
So that first year I was stage managing, basically running around the floor, pointing at things, solving problems, walking people through the space, running the rehearsals. And by the second year, COVID hit and ruined everything, but we're Florida. So COVID was a mere inconvenience for us. So
COVID actually happened.
COVID or not?
Yeah, right. Those people all died from the flu and from looking at the sun too much.
So we're like, we were getting in structure and doing everything, but like we were one of the first shows to actually be out again. To our credit, vaccines had been introduced at that point, and we were very accommodating as far as like, we understand something, but we were still able to have an event. Yeah. But it's, all of the navigating that was part of the thing and it was just like, and the way I squared it in my mind was whoever's going to come to a TED show has probably gotten their vaccination, and whoever doesn't have their vaccination has made peace with whatever that risk is. And so like,
that point of view is probably going to come up a little later in the questions, because I do have a question about that.
Oh yeah.
So, but we'll get to that in a minute. So now your role is what exactly?
So I am I'm the lead organizer, and I'm also the speech coach.
So you have to go find the talkers, or you just teach the talkers how to do the talking?
I mainly teach. I take part in the selection process. Fortunately, the team I work with, we've been doing it long enough that we sort of have like best practices and stuff in place. And so there's a process. We usually put out a call for speakers on our social media about 4 months before we go up. We get about 150 to 200 applicants.
Wow.
And we've started, and TED actually wants you to do more of this, where like we've started approaching speakers and asking them directly as well. So when we were first starting, we would get all those applications and we'd had 10 spots. And just this last year we had 5. So it's gotten even harder to get into one of our shows.
Wow.
But
several hundred applicants that you get, like what's the first criteria that lets you weed them out? Like if they're not literate or can't, write in full sentences,
right? That's kind of part of it. So like
it's Florida, that cuts it down really quick.
Yeah. So the
damn it.
The process we use is we look for obvious no's first. So one of the first things I look for is, did they even submit a video? If I can't see you on camera and understand how you're looking and how you talk, and it, like, there's nothing you can write that is so eloquent and poetic that I will take that chance on you. I'm sorry. Because
that's fair. It's just a live performance.
Exactly. And so and it's also like we're getting into sort of just the pragmatic needs of production. And it's not because I'm trying to be mean or an asshole or anything. It's just like, dude, you didn't follow directions. Sorry.
There we go. There's like, the first part of it. You didn't follow the directions.
Yeah.
Did not understand the assignment.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So like, and
you do a video. No video.
I'm not doing video.
Crazy.
This is a talk. It's not a look. I don't have to go on stage. Yeah, you do. What do you mean I got to go on stage? My writing is so good. Yeah,
that's
right.
So crazy.
Yeah. So then we weed through a couple of those. Then we start submitting it to the team, and then to sort of keep from influencing each other, we assign people scores, and then we select based on scores so that it turns into as much of a math problem as possible and something as objective as possible. So trying
the most democratic thing I've heard coming out of Florida.
Yeah, right. It's very
yeah.
Opportunity.
Yeah. Ron DeSantis can't stop everything. I'm just going to say that now.
So, dude, the other TEDx is around the country. TEDxI. I don't know. How would you call it?
I'm gonna let you go
Plural
with that
TEDx's. Multiple TED. There are other TEDx things happening in other cities, are there not?
Yeah. There's actually 3 to 5 like right around me. There's in like neighboring cities there. Yeah.
Are they using a similar selection method?
Honestly, I have no idea. It's kind of like the Rebel Alliance. Like we don't talk to each other. We just have the same goals. So
That's cool. So maybe so like, let's say I apply to get on your TEDx stage and I don't make it because I don't follow directions or whatever. But like Billings, Montana is like, fuck it. We have no rules. You can just show up. I can go out there and get on and I'm still just as much of a TEDx speaker as somebody else.
Absolutely. And this is something that like, because there's a lot of like tooth grinding on like, how do I get selected, all this other stuff. And what a lot of people don't understand is that you're entering a space that's very similar to working actors, where they can give the perfect audition and do everything under their control that's right and still not get selected. And it's not a knock on them. And so, and now we're also getting into like, pitch in this space. You'll see a lot of other like coaches with language that guarantees selection, all this other stuff. And it's really just play the math. Like it's like resumes and dating. Like if you present well and you're respectable, somebody's going to like you. I mean, like that it's both easier. The things that people think is hard isn't, and the things that's not hard is more difficult than people think. And so like, it's not that you don't need coaching or advice. It's just people get hung up on the weird stuff.
Tom, with the coaching like portion of this, let's just say like I want to come in, I get selected. I'm talking about public transportation and my love for that. Chill out, Brian. And do you kind of come in, or like, is there a group of you guys that come in almost like a writer's room that takes kind of like what my idea is and gives like feedback and like, hey, you should write it this way, you should omit this, like an editor almost?
That's the first half of my training.
Okay.
So the first part is, now I've heard different things. I used to advise people not to try to apply with a fully written speech, but I've seen a lot of talk in the coaching space of having one developed, so at least you have something. So whether you have something fully written or not isn't right or wrong. But what's likely going to happen if you work with a coach is that it might change given the event. But back to your question, the first 2, 3, maybe even 4 sessions with me is me just getting your script right. And I will go back and do copy editing. I will, and it's all a suggestion. What I try and tell people over and over again is like, you're the one on stage. I'm just giving a suggestion. You ultimately have the decision whether or not to use but people just tend to like what I tell them. So,
I mean, that's the thing. Right? Exactly. That's why you're in the. Yeah. And then is another part of the coaching sort of like how to stand, how to look,
absolutely,
hands, all of that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's because there's it's theatricality also. So part of it is exactly how to standing so that you're breathing right. There's a whole portion of my theater training. I say that like I'm some actor. No, I went to Temple University and I got a theater degree.
That is what are we talking about?
I'd go to school in North Philadelphia and like crackheads would come out and be like, would you like to have crack with me? And I'm like, no, I must study my theater. Like,
yes. Inside the actor's studio.
Outside the temple.
No, Philly is a place.
Yes, you've ever been to Philly?
Part of Philadelphia, nothing he said is wrong.
Yeah.
That is true fact.
Yes.
Even people who live there know I'm not insulting the place.
No. Those guys go on to the city council. That is just Philadelphia doing Philadelphia things. Yeah, one of them is an assistant coach of the Eagles.
Yeah, but there is a lot of like even the way you carry yourself physically, just stuff to make you comfortable so that you know what you're doing and you don't like even where like it sounds weird, but like I can tell if you're straining your voice based on where you feel your voice is coming from.
Yeah.
So like if you're talking all high, you're gonna burn out and get scratchy and all this other stuff. I had a teacher, I use this advice all the time where it's like, you want to talk from the naughty bits. You want to get everything as low as possible and just sort of like make your chest this barrel and just push your words out.
So
with the naughty bits,
remember that? What if you've got now one of the things about it's harder to see sort of on the radio because we're sitting at a desk and everything like that. some of us, I'm just going to say there's probably certain groups of us that are more this than others. We talk with our hands.
Yeah.
There's a lot. You are a big.
Yes, I'm a big hand.
You're a big hands guy.
Yeah.
Like
right now I'm good.
Like if you broke your wrist, that's a speech impediment.
Yes,
like
I'm not gonna be able.
So do you teach people like how to like put their hands?
Oh yeah.
I mean, what do you do with your hands?
So this is what's interesting. My general advice on gesturing is use it for effect, almost like a spice, not to the point of distraction, not like just enough. People have a really hard time wrapping their head around the idea that like just standing with your hands at your sides is perfectly fine. Like it doesn't look weird to people. It doesn't distract them. It doesn't make them think anything, like, because you're just standing there talking. You could probably see me right now. Like I've been using my hands a lot, so I'm guilty of the same thing. But there's also things like gestures. When you minimize gestures, then you can use them as tools. And so like if you're gesturing up can be a positive thing. You can push things away. You can bring things toward you. They can be a way for you to use like the space itself and just sort of establish physicalities. If you want to put an idea outside of yourself that's not so great, you just go like, well, this is over here, like all that stuff. Yeah. So
okay,
it's just making them aware. Yeah.
We could. So, I mean, really, we're in question number 3 right now, which is, can you give Tez some tips on how to talk like a TED talker? But I've seen these videos almost sort of making fun of.
I love them.
Where it's like the person saying, I'm not going to tell you anything, but I'm going to pace around. And then you're going to look at me.
I think I've seen that one.
Yeah. What do you think of those things?
I love them. I've actually shown them to my speakers before. Partly to sort of like shatter the even like I think the word is lilt, like that TED rhythm is sort of it's gotten to the point where people think that's how you're supposed to talk on a TED stage, and I think it's just something that's evolved. And so the first rule of Fight Club for me with that is like, don't worry about it, just be yourself. You are yourself turned up to 11. So however you're going to regularly talk, do that. You don't need to assume this character. You don't need to use $10 words. And you can even get away with a couple swears here or there, depending. So like, just be your best self. And that's because everything that you're going for is authenticity. That's what makes people connect to you. So the more you can show that, however that is, whether you get emotional about something or excited about something, or just have a really good story to tell, that's how you do that. So you don't need to worry about, do I sound like a smarty pants enough? Like that's a false worry.
It's funny because like, you know, there's radio voice and there's also like radio cadence and all. There's definitely NPR voice.
Yes.
Right. And then there's also like morning zoo voice, you know, and then there's whatever the hell we do voice. It's, you know, it doesn't make any sense
at all.
Yeah.
We had a guy on our show. I don't know. It might be in the top 5. It's certainly in the top 10 interviews we've ever done. Guy's name is Blacklick. He's an incredible guy who does. He's a rapper. He's a poet. He's a frontman of a punk rock band. He also teaches hip hop at various levels in high school and college. Just all around incredible story of a person, and really smart. Really one of the most in-depth thinkers I think we've ever really talked to. And he was thinking about stuff that we hadn't even considered. And he gave a TED talk in Richmond. And one of the things that he did was he had right? They had a person like kind of coach him up on how to deliver everything. And then he got on stage and did not that speech at all. He did his own something else entirely because he's a punk rocker and that's kind of what he does. And he delivered this whole other thing, and it was a huge hit and everybody loved it. Has that ever happened to you where somebody just like comes up with something new when the lights come on?
Not yet. I've had speakers like start playing with it a little too much. But I haven't had some, and I've heard other stories what you're talking about, where people just trying to take the piss out of the whole thing and just like they create these credentials and the curation team doesn't really vet them well enough, and then they just go and they shit all over the event. And
That's not what he did. He has the credentials and stuff. He just gave a different speech than what he had told them he was going to talk about.
Yeah, and it's possible. You do this long enough, I'm sure something like that might happen, but I haven't had anything like that yet. The most I've had in that direction is like they start experimenting with their material to various effect.
So now we're going to ask you the hard stuff.
Okay.
Which you sort of alluded to earlier. One of the things that seems to often be a theme of TED Talks is communication itself. People are often using these things to talk about how groups of people communicate with each other and all of that. So noted friend of the show, Celeste Headley, she's given a couple of TED Talks, and one of them's like, I think the top 10, it's in the top 10 most viewed
nice.
Or something like that. She's a big deal. And it was about communication that she gave one of these talks about. And then she went on to write several books about it. And then she came on our show and we made her famous. It was great. And then,
nice.
So do you find that there are certain groups of people who really respond to these kind of talks and other certain groups of people who really don't? You kind of got at that a little bit, but expand on that.
Short answer is yes, definitely. TED is now so widely recognized that it's an easy sell from like a ticketing perspective. From like when we're doing our fundraising, like, and we're making our phone calls, like, oh yeah, great. And like, you at least get a conversation. People just like them. People travel long distances, to view them. So there's definitely a built-in audience at this point. I'm not the marketing professional to really define the specifics there, but I know it's there. And likewise, anything like that, they've been around long enough, and just, comments you see in any of the YouTubes of any of the TED speeches, like, you're going to see the people who are just like, it's just pretentious people, getting high on their own farts. Like and they're not wrong. There's like 10 or 15 or 20 years of these talks, and they've been all over the map. They've been really great. They've had really bad speakers, everything in between. And so like, it's really a personal preference. So I don't take offense if nobody likes, the platform or the brand or that type of communication. It's just not for them.
Do you think that, one of the things that I'm going to lay my bias out here because why not? I think that, liberal literati types tend to like this stuff, and conservatives who hate experts think this is bullshit and won't engage with it at all. I think that's true, but I'm happy to find out I'm wrong.
All right, so I haven't seen it directly like that. I haven't seen it along political lines like that. Although I will say, in my experience, liberals love TED stuff. I can back that part up. Interesting story. 2 years ago, I worked with a set of speakers. There were two women working together on both sides of the political spectrum.
In Florida?
In Florida. Well, they
watch
they're
out.
They're not based in Florida, but they had come to our show. Their names are Jennifer Edwards and Katie McCleary. Jennifer is very conservative. Katie is very left, and they are best friends, and they work together. They do they advise companies. They've written a book, and their speech with us was how to get across that ideological divide. They've literally built a career on it. They advise companies and people on it, and they're both incredible, awesome people. So and their speech went bonkers when it went online. Like they're in one of like the top, I think they're in one of the top 20. I think they're number 16 for most watched in 23.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's hope.
Yeah. And honestly, that's why I do these, is because you get glimpses of hope for the world.
No, I think, Tom, you hit on something there. Because like, as I look at these events, so it's TED, and then like, I also would maybe throw like the Moth Radio Hour in this as well too, where people are coming together to listen to one person, and it feels communal in a sense. And granted, a lot of these things blow up on the internet, but it's still bringing folks together and like you listening to another human being.
I love
kind of tell a story, right? And I think there needs to be more of that. Like,
when we're in the refugee camps, the climate refugee camps, all we're gonna have is standing around the fire telling stories.
When it comes down to it, at the end, when there's no internet, when
Florida washes into the sea.
Don't say that.
Well, Alabama too. Don't worry.
Yeah, at the end of it, right? It's almost like storytelling and like sharing these stories is kind of what makes like us human. Almost,
it is literally the thing that makes us
foundation.
We talk about that all the time. Our ability to communicate with each other, the danger of the saber-toothed tiger that you saw over there.
Comes on Tuesday, bro, or whatever.
That's like how we know. And that's why we're here, and our other ancestors who were bad at telling stories are not here. So what are we going to do when we're standing around the fire and there's nothing left? Are you going to still be coaching us on how to tell better stories?
I mean, if people want me to. It just seems like the skill set I kind of have always had.
Storytelling game is strong with this one.
Oh, God. All right. We are on that weekend, though.
Okay, we're getting close to Star Wars Day. That's why we're talking.
Yeah, that's good. I feel we're close.
That's one of my favorite things I ever got to do was that Star Wars wedding.
Oh,
this is a crazy thing. I got this call from this guy. He's like, "Can you do a wedding on May 4th?" And I was like, "Star Wars Day?" I was gonna tell him no because it's Star Wars Day. I got shit to do. And he was like, and I was like, "Do you want to have a Star Wars wedding?" And he's like, "Yes."
Okay.
I'm in.
Sign me up.
And he's like, "Okay, it's gonna be a little weird. Are you ready?" I was like, "Yes."
Yes, I'm ready.
He's like, "I'm gonna be an Imperial. My husband to be is gonna be a Jedi. It's a mixed marriage. Are you okay with that?" I was like, very okay with that.
Yeah.
I wrote this dynamite script. Everybody was dressed up. It was so much fun. It was crazy. I can't wait to do that again. I hope somebody calls for another Star Wars wedding.
Great story.
Yeah. I bet you Tom could punch it up and make it a lot better. One day. Speaking of which, Tom, how can everybody follow you and, see all the work that you're producing and making everybody happy and all that stuff?
So my LinkedIn pages are probably the most active right now. I'm writing a series of articles just on the TEDx process, just stuff I haven't seen a lot of people talk about. I'm on Facebook. My events company is what to look for. So you're going to look for Finale Events. On LinkedIn, it's Finale Events USA. I'm about to launch a YouTube channel where I talk about TED speeches and stuff. That will be called Tom Talks TEDx. The channel's up. There's nothing on it yet, but there will be stuff soon. I'm producing it as we speak. And then I will eventually be doing short form on TikTok as well. So you can find me there. Even if there's nothing there, just hang tight. I'm about to post stuff.
Hit that follow button. Make sure you subscribe. Yeah, smash the subscribe. I don't know why you smash it.
I don't know. That's what you said.
Once is good.
Yeah.
But so when we're going to post the clips of all this, throughout the week, we'll link to all of that so everybody can follow along. They can go and sign up and subscribe, all those kind of things. Now, normally we would play Florida or Nah.
Yeah.
But we can't.
You knew that.
No, it's not fair.
It's not fair.
I was born in New York. Florida is like an adopted home. It's like, I totally get it. I spent a lot of years trying to escape.
So what we're going to do is we're going to add you to this list of super experts of this game. And as we go through the year, we're going to compile a super Florida or Not episode.
Wow.
And we're going to invite a few experts to come and play, several rounds of Florida or Not.
Look at that. Look at you producing.
I'm planning ahead. I've got ideas, outlines written. It's all kinds of things. I'm trying.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to make
Someone's
some content
gotta do
around
something
here.
there. Content king.
So will you participate in our Florida or Not Tournament of Champions when it comes up?
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. Will you bring an alligator to it?
We're in the same boat there.
There were alligators. There were actually alligators at my wedding, but I don't think I'm that tight with alligators.
The imaging needs alligators, cross.
Just like two alligators swing Jedi lightsabers, swinging an alligator against. What sound does an alligator make when it slaps another alligator? I'll go
Use
home and put
suitcases.
some fruit together and find out. I'll let you know.
We're a simple set of folks who do this stuff, and it's just not. Sorry.
Okay, sorry, Tom. We had a great time talking to you, but now we're gonna go do a bunch of dumb stuff. All right. So one more time, the name of the production company, so everybody can follow you.
Yeah, it's Finale Events. You can look me up. Find me at finaleevents.net. And the YouTube channel is going to be Tom Talks TEDx, and you can find my company also on LinkedIn.
There you go. All right, great. We're gonna post the links to all of that stuff.
Smash that connect button.
Yeah.
Send him a dozen messages. I'm sure he's gonna love that. Spam the hell out of his whatever inbox. I don't know how that works. So you click accept on something, and all of a sudden you got 15 messages from this person. Why does that happen?
You got to change your settings.
Somewhere on LinkedIn, people are trying it's gotten to the point where
LinkedIn's the new, like, people left Twitter and went to LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Am I noticing that correctly?
But it's
like
super positive. You're not allowed to be negative on LinkedIn.
Is very different than
it
like
is
5 years ago.
It's weird because like everyone hates LinkedIn. Everyone has to pretend that they don't hate LinkedIn.
Right.
And then they have to pretend that they're leaders. So you get this like leaders leading leaders through leadership bullshit and catchphrases for leaders today. I'll show you like all of this stuff. Like
I look at it.
Everyone's a leader. Everyone's a thought leader on LinkedIn. Like,
yeah,
I look through some of this stuff. I'm like, why are they posting this here?
It
Get you a Substack for God's sakes.
It doesn't make sense.
One of my favorite things. It's an algorithm. It's like somebody just figured out. They just call it's like the LinkedIn post generator, and it is so on point. It's unreal.
I can do a show about because I've noticed the change in LinkedIn where I'm like, yo, it used to be like, hey, got a job?
Yeah, I'm looking for a job.
Now everybody.
Do you know anybody who
now
can
it's
do
like
this?
3,000 words. People are trying to fit in things about like I was down and I
had a transitional experience and all of it.
Yeah.
And you too can do this. And I'm like,
yeah.
What's going on here?
It's a pyramid scheme, is what it is.
Right.
You're right.
But the annoying thing is that there's just enough useful stuff.
Yes.
That it keeps you coming back because it's like because all the event stuff, like the industry stuff that I look at is mostly on LinkedIn, and I'm like, wow, that's really helpful. And like, I'll keep like the memes and this other stuff or the infographics. And then you get all the stories you're talking about where it's like, I was walking my dog and my dog had no complaints today. And it just made me think.
That's the one.
Yeah,
like, those are the ones that I'm like, what the fuck is going on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
And then my dog went out to become CEO of Goldman Sachs. You don't know what can happen to you too.
And maybe we should all just be my dog, be like my dog today. Like, come on, guys. Like
golden retrievers.
And then other people, when they say like their time is coming to the end of the company, like, all right, if I
want to thank everyone for the opportunities. Like,
exactly, those are the too. If I'm going, I'm like, hey, yeah, I got fired. Okay,
I'm so grateful.
Yeah,
so grateful that I'm not going to talk about the rage I'm feeling at my employer right now.
No fucking reason because
I'm
they
going
merged
on to
with
the
another
next part of
company.
my journey.
There's one.
Just change the badge
That's
on your,
the other one
on your
there.
thing. Open to work.
Yeah. Let me shut up for my badge doesn't work tomorrow.
Yeah, right. We all got corporate overlords.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody be quiet. All right, speaking of corporate overlords, we're going to let Tom go because it's a school night and he's got stuff to do, I'm sure. We have to go pay some bills, which means make Tez watch Alex Jones videos.
Yes!
And we're going to take a break. Tom, I will send you a message later. Everybody, you've been listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps!
And we're not getting what humans always thought was key, the bone broth. 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 Well, now it's the next level of that. It's caveman. But hey, I need a glass of caveman. Caveman. Man. It's better than Ovaltine. Better than Ovaltine. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Caveman is just over the top. What in the world? But now with the milk, I was like, whoa, this has milk in it. Whoa. It tastes like good. Man, this tastes so good. Tastes like the best milkshake ever. It tastes like Ovaltine. It tastes like Ovaltine. It tastes like Ovaltine. Like good. It tastes like Ovaltine. It tastes like Ovaltine. It tastes like Ovaltine. Like good. Whoa.
This is I can say without a doubt, at least in my experience, that this is literally.
This is a super home run available at InfoWarsLife.com, and it supports the broad. I'm sick of all these witches and warlocks. They're full of shit. Pumpkin popsums. I'm sick of it.
You keep interrupting me.
And all of it's lies. Because you're lying. That's why. Oh, there's energy, and oh, now we're done with Trump. You said he was the Messiah. You said he was invincible. I will not suffer your Q people after this. I knew what you were day one. I know what you are now. Witches and warlocks are full of shit. Pumpkin popsums. I'm sick of it.
You keep interrupting me.
And all of it's lies. Because you're lying. That's why every goddamn thing out of your people's mouths doesn't come true. You said it was all over. You told us to stop. You. Oh, God. Witches and warlocks, you're full of shit. Pumpkin popsums, I'm sick of it.
You keep interrupting me.
And all of it's lies. Because you're lying. That's why witches and warlocks, you're full of shit. Pumpkin popsums, I'm sick of it.
You keep interrupting me.
And all of it's lies. Because you're lying. That's why. Because every god thing.
Your mouth is trash.
Keep interrupting me.
Yo,
Oh man.
said he was the Messiah. Said he was invincible.
So that video reminds me to tell everybody that now is the time of year we start getting videos of idiot touristas messing with bison.
Oh.
Just the horns is what made me. Gentle shout out reminder: don't do that. Matter of fact, don't drive near them. Don't think you can go get close enough. I saw one where it just put its horn through a window and smacked the whole family just because it was looking at them.
Leave the goddamn bison alone.
Leave the bison alone. Look at them from a distance or on a bun. Both acceptable, delicious. Don't go near them
They're gonna.
at all.
We don't want to lose any more good Americans.
Don't think you can pet them.
Why would I'm?
People are stupid. They go to Yellowstone and they go, I'm going to pet a buffalo. And then they die. Don't pet the buffaloes. It's stupid. Go to
PSA.
Yeah. Josh Allen, you can pet him. All right. Just say. Now we have to do a thing that we is unpleasant that we have to do. It's part of our job of informing the people and trying to do all this. We have to talk about what's going on with all of these protests revolving around the war going on in Gaza. Before we exactly get to the protests, we do need to just lay down a little bit of ground rules and not ground rules, but like background information. The Israeli government, which is not the Jewish people.
Yeah, let's just
let's be very clear about that. The Israeli government, Benjamin Netanyahu government, has been waging a war against the people of Gaza in an effort to remove Hamas, which is a terrorist organization, from their midst. Hamas kicked this off by invading Israel, attacking Israel, killing 1,200 people, and carrying off roughly 200 and some odd hostages. They still have quite a lot of those hostages.
The video came out.
The Netanyahu government thinks that they are going to be able to forcibly end Hamas's existence and somehow doesn't think that anything similar will ever spring back up. They have this idea that they can lay waste to the place so drastically that the people of Gaza will forever be terrified and never try to resist again.
Doesn't work.
It's never worked. Yes, it's a bad idea. It has led to the death of, to count anyway, that we know of, roughly 35,000 Palestinians, the vast majority of which are not Hamas fighters.
Right.
And it's like roughly 17 to 20,000 of them are children, which is bad. Not to kill the children. They are not Hamas yet, but they might be, according to Netanyahu. Right. Which of course they are now because you just killed all their friends. So, okay, that's one thing that you need to know. Another thing that you need to know is that the Israeli military is made up of or uses Western weaponry. They have some that they develop themselves, right? For example, they don't use M1 Abrams tanks. They use their own tanks. They're very good tanks, I should point out. But they fly American fighter jets. They use NATO rounds. They use American developed technology in terms of like communications, satellites, GPS jamming, all of those kind of things. They've got their own drones and some other stuff. But basically, at the underlying capacity of the Israeli army is American weaponry with a little bit of British and French and German sprinkled in, but mostly American.
Yeah.
The Iron Dome, which has protected Israel successfully, even very recently, from an Iranian attack and from most of the Hamas rockets that have been fired over the years, that is American technology. We developed the Iron Dome with the Israelis and gave it to them, and they have used it to tremendous success. Do we have an Iron Dome? No. Do we need an Iron Dome? No. Why? Because Canada and Mexico are both relatively functional, relatively economically viable countries. Mexico a little less so, but still, where the people don't have any interest in hucking rockets at us. So we don't need an Iron Dome. Just an idea. Okay, those are things that you need to know. What's happening in the protests here in the United States? It's happening in, I think there's like 150 universities so far that are on this list. It's a lot of stuff
across the country.
Yeah, GW is in the midst of it. This all sort of seems to be centered around Columbia University up in New York City, but that's not the only place. It's happening out in University of Michigan. It's happening everywhere. It's happening in UCLA. It's happening everywhere. It's fair to say that university campuses, college campuses are often places of protest.
It's nothing new.
Yeah, young people tend to be the vanguard of ideas in this country and in basically all the others. And on the whole, it's probably good. It's good for the young ones to be innovating and pushing the rest of us forward. It is why we are called progressive.
Yes.
Okay, that is all very good. Free speech, very important.
Yeah.
If you want to protest that they serve cheeseburgers on a Wednesday and you are opposed to cheeseburgers on Wednesday and they can only be served on Thursdays, that is a good thing to protest. You want to get out there and yell about it? Cool. In fact, lots of college campuses have like specifically designated areas, free speech areas, where you can just go stand on a box and shout about stuff. That sounds pretty good. We on this show are not going to condemn any kind of free speech expression whatsoever. Okay. We are also not going to condone any levels of violence, destruction, or intimidation. And before everybody gets into what about the George Floyd riots and all this, we're not talking about like cities in flames, destruction where people are like outraged at corporate America and the losses are not real because Target can, come up with the money. We're talking about don't go smashing up school buildings and administrators and stuff, and don't throw things at anybody. That's been a really weird thing. I've seen a lot of people throwing stuff, and it just seems like, come on, didn't your mother ever teach you not to throw things at people? What are you doing? Protest, great. Want to sing, great. Want to occupy some space as long as you don't have to break anything to get there? It's probably okay. Key thing to remember about protests, you did pay attention in history class, and you want to be like your parents in Vietnam era and all that stuff, you're likely to get arrested.
That's part of it.
Part of how this works. It's kind of ineffective if you don't get arrested because it means nobody's paying attention. They don't care.
Right.
When we were downtown protesting about George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, it was very clear that there was a possibility we were going to get arrested.
Yeah.
Did I? No, not that time. But several compatriots of mine got tear gassed in Lafayette Park for singing.
Yeah.
They weren't violent either. It is true that sometimes cops overreact.
Yeah.
This ain't that case. Also, now let's flip the other side of this. School administrators, city mayors, governors, various authority figures. Do not talk down to the children like they're a bunch of idiots. Don't talk to them like they're not, you're just a bunch of entitled idiots. You don't really know what's going on. Oh, you're queer and protesting for Palestine. If you were over there, they would kill you. Shut up. Shut up. That's not helpful. Don't disrespect the youth like they're useless. They're not useless. Do they know everything? No. But if their general idea is ceasefire, that's kind of all you need to know.
Yeah.
They don't have to know the details.
And how do you argue against that? And that's what, for most, I granted a lot of these, there have been instances, obviously, of destruction on there, which with the property stuff again there, it's like, all right, I get that. I definitely, the intimidation or saying, like Hamas needs to do the same thing to you, like that. It can't be that. All right.
Can't do that.
That is like, it can't be that.
Now you've gone from free speech into threatening people.
Exactly.
It's
there is a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. And I guess to the point of the police part, that is part of it. And I think you gotta understand, like the George Floyd piece is as crazy as it might seem, it's not long ago. That was a different time. It's hard to really explain that to people.
Yeah, but it's COVID and everything else.
That is a different time, and that's going to sit alone as itself. And I think you already see there's been a sea change of like whether it's corporations, whether it's the police, like that shit was kind of like a blip. And like, I think we're kind of moving away. There's a movement away from that. What's happening here is interesting because like people are going to throw me into nuance jail for this, but I do think almost all of these pieces kind of have to happen in the sense that the kids, I remember just being a very rebellious kid, specifically the ages probably like 16 to like 23.
Yeah.
23, 24. And just like my thought process around things, like you're developing a lot of this, you're developing the ideas. And I think it is crucial for the youth in this country to push, right? To make it like, to make things like, and it's going to feel uncomfortable for some of us as well too, because it's like, all right, I've kind of seen, a lot of us have went through this. You're like, when life starts life and later on, you're like,
you're going to look back on this. Yeah. When you're 20, you're an absolutist. Everything is black and white. It's very, very clear what the right thing to do and what the wrong thing to do. And you have no capacity to nuance.
And I get it.
We were all there. You were there. We were there. We all Brian was there in the 1950s.
Yeah,
so we were all there.
And so I understand it. And I think you should continue to do this, right? Again, there is a line of it, but almost at a certain point, them pushing the line is like just kind of what the new generation almost is supposed to do.
It is their job as the youth.
So I feel it's like it's conflicted in the sense where it's like, it's hard. Like I'm not going to be, as you mentioned, I'm not going to condemn people protesting at all. Hey, don't smack people over the head with shit. Don't fucking throw things, shit. Don't say we should be murdering like a bunch of or like these things should happen. Like because
you don't help your case.
You're not helping the case.
You really don't make. This is the thing where we're sounding like the old guys.
It's kind of hard.
And again, we don't want to be somebody who's going to tell you. We're not telling you how to protest or what's a legitimate form of protest and not. That's not.
If you want to go break shit and go occupy these buildings, cool. If the consequences that are like deal with those, but I also think as well too, like there has to be at a certain point, and you hope the protests push that, a policy change, right? And that should be the end goal. The end goal.
So that's the other thing that we really need to talk about. Is what is this policy change that they're after? Because it is very unclear.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that
I've seen the divestments.
We're learning in these protests is that a lot of the people, if it was just about end the war, I don't think you get a lot of pushback. I think, quite honestly, everybody is okay with that. It's when you start talking about some of these methods by which you end the. Let's be clear about a few things. During the Vietnam era, the people protesting in the United States were protesting a war that the United States was fighting.
Yeah.
And they were trying to pressure their leaders here in the United States to stop fighting a war.
Yeah.
Benjamin Netanyahu is not at Columbia University, and he does not give a fuck about what the kids at Columbia University are doing, or at Michigan, or at UCLA, or at UT Austin. He does not care.
He doesn't. The one person who I think does care is Joe Biden in an election year. I do think
he does care, and this is the thing where I don't think they're helping their message. You might be forgetting to whom you are speaking. If your goal, and it's a roundabout goal, is to make enough noise that the United States government hears you hollering at the Quad that they yank all of the F-35s away from the Israelis, your chances of that are slim and none, and Slim just left town.
And it's just, yeah, I mean, and I'm very empathetic to people where they're frustrated because they don't understand, they don't get, like, some of this shit is just like bigger than like me, you. It's kind of like geopolitics, and I get no one wants to hear that shit as a kid.
And we're not talking down to you.
I
want to be clear about that. We're not saying this is too complicated. You don't understand what you're doing.
30,000 women and children dead. I know nobody wants to hear that shit, right?
Right.
But also what I do know as well too is I know this country has moved one way. They've always moved one way, specifically on that issue. The issue being Israel as a country, and I don't see that piece changing. What I do think will change is, again, watching this from a little child, right? And watching this, it's not new, y'all. Like,
no,
this is not new.
I know you think you've seen everything in your 22 years,
yes,
but you have
not new, right? And I get it. It's that Israel sits in a unique area of the world. There's the aftermath of World War II. There's like communism versus capitalism, right? There's a lot of things that are playing into this to get there. And I do think you're in a unique point where a Palestinian state, and I think
it weirdly seems more likely now than it ever has.
It's
but don't shoot yourselves in the foot. This is again, I want to be clear. I'm not telling you not to protest. I'm not telling you how to protest. I'm telling you, just hear out the sort of gentle bit of advice here. This idea of divestment, okay, that the universities should divest their endowments out of companies that do business with Israel. It's not, I know you're looking at the South Africa disinvestment from apartheid and thinking, oh, we can do that again. It's not that, because South Africa was a pretty isolated economy and it was pretty easy to figure out who was involved and who wasn't, and easily single them out. The protesters are carrying around bottles of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has several bottling plants. They used to have one in Gaza that was staffed by Palestinians so that they could sell Coca-Cola in Israel. Are they putting their Cokes down? They're not putting their Cokes down. Israel is more integrated into the world economy than South Africa ever was. And you can't easily, they're talking about get Google out of there. Like, I don't care what Columbia's got $209 million invested in. Google doesn't give a shit about that. It's too little to matter. You guys are barking up the wrong tree in so many ways. In so many ways. You're protesting a country that is not the one fighting the war. The United States is actively engaged. That's the next part of the story. Blinken is over there now, or he's on his way back.
Yeah, he was there.
Actively engaged in trying to convince the Israelis to call a ceasefire. And really the sticking point at this point, as far as we can tell, is Hamas is not taking the deal. The Israelis have agreed. So Hamas isn't taking the deal. So if you want to pressure anybody, go pressure Hamas. Tell them, take the deal, then you've got your ceasefire. We all want a ceasefire. We all want aid into Gaza. We want Gaza rebuilt. We want the people of Gaza to live safe and happy so that they don't have any reason to have Hamas. We all want that. But this, I don't think, serves that message. It's just because there's too many easy ways. And look, I don't want to hear Eric Adams and all these people talk about, well, it's outside actors, professional protesters making hay of this and using opportunities. That's all bullshit. There's no outside actors. And if there are, who cares? It's not that. That's not
It's
the
not
issue.
that many of them.
It's not that many. It's also not fair to call people who want Israel to stop, or the Netanyahu government to stop bombing civilians in Gaza. Those people aren't anti-Semitic. They just don't want Netanyahu to bomb children.
Yeah.
That's not a Jewish thing. That's a don't bomb children.
And there's this tug though, right? Because that is all, there's this tug between when folks are approached with that, when someone says, hey, you're being anti-Semitic with that, I think you have to be very confident and very strong in like your communication, where if someone brings that, I would always challenge, all right, well, prove your work, kind of help walk me through this. What did I like? Give me like, because, and I get these conversations, they're difficult.
Don't even say that though. If the Jewish kid comes to you and says, what you're saying is anti-Semitic, don't say, no, it's not.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, but help me.
Don't do that.
But I'm saying, but help me understand why you feel that way. Yeah.
And if they say, well, look, Israel's in a tough neighborhood, the Jewish people have suffered a lot. We're in, it's understandable that they're sort of overreactive and all. Go, yeah, I get all of that. What Benjamin Netanyahu is doing now is the thing that I don't like. I'm not saying Israel shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the Jewish people did anything wrong. I'm saying what the Netanyahu, you got to be specific. Yeah. That's how you avoid the charge of anti-Semitism. Is you be specific about the people, the individuals by name who are perpetrating this.
That's the time though. We have an issue, and there's an issue that has been. This is like a long running of, and not just with Jewish people, but for a lot where we kind of go and we take where it can be a government or a larger body
and apply it to a group.
And it's like, yo, like it just is never that. A lot of times these groups are kind of like, yo, we don't agree with this shit either.
The Americans invaded Iraq. Hey, look, buddy, I didn't invade Iraq. I wasn't in on that.
Yo,
nobody asked me.
I wish. Yeah, you're my representative government.
I voted against it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so it's one of those things where, and people I think are just lazy around the conversations, right? It just feels some of these conversations need to be very nuanced. There needs to be, and no one wants
to take it down several notches.
Yeah,
and
I get why people are upset too.
I get it. But you got to you got to avoid the slogans. That's another thing where you get into this problem. Okay. And that's where we're going to get down to this real question about what is anti-Semitic and what's not. There are people who think that there is nothing wrong with the chant from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Right.
There are other people who feel like if you looked at a map and said that word, that means that Israel isn't there.
Right.
And is being against the state of Israel existing being anti-Semitic? I'm not sure it's exactly that, but I can see why it feels that way. Yeah. So while I want there to be some entity from the river to the sea where everybody is free, and where everybody has jobs and makes money, and it's called Holy Land land, and we get the credit for it, you might want to drop a piece of that and just say freedom for Palestine, or let there be a Palestinian state, or we support Palestinian statehood, or something like that.
Because no matter what your true intentions are, no matter what your true intentions are at that point there, the message just ends up being lost.
It would also help if you knew a Palestinian person and an Israeli person and asked them something.
Yeah.
Because it would really inform your opinion about some of this.
And again, as I'm pretty sure you've experienced as well, knowing people that are on both, and I hate to put it, but both sides of this.
I have family and very dear friends who are on both sides of this conflict.
Yeah,
and it is killing me.
And like, I see it in their faces. People are just like, I've seen people like visibly changed over the last, I guess, 7 months at this point.
I since October 7th, have made a habit of texting one of my good friends who is Palestinian frequently to remind him that I love him.
Yeah.
Because I don't want this to be a problem for us.
Right.
Is he saying some of the things that are, from the river to the sea? Yeah. And I've challenged him on it. I challenged several people on it. I'm like, look, I know you think you're just saying this thing and it sounds right and it sounds like a thing, but you're kind of like skipping a piece that you need to say, you need to either make it more inclusive or make it more specific. It's one or the other. And it is easy for the removed American people to grab a slogan and stick to it and not really understand the implications of what they're saying. To wit, there was a motion in Congress today to adopt standards of what is and what isn't anti-Semitism, because there is a question about this in terms of federal funding. And federal funding, if you are at a university or a school, whatever, Title VI says that you can't get federal funding if you discriminate.
Right.
And so, religion is a protected class, but what exactly is anti-Semitic and what is not isn't exactly defined. There was a vote today on this to accept a particular definition of anti-Semitism. And here's where it turns back to American politics. A really lot of the people criticizing the kids who are protesting at these universities are decrying them as being anti-Semitic. And a lot of those same people, Brian, I don't know if you've got the picture of Charlottesville, said that these guys who were chanting, "The Jews will not replace us," and "Death to the Jews," that those guys were entitled to their free speech or maybe were very fine people. So it can't be both. You can't decry anti-Semitism and support Charlottesville Nazis. You can't do both. So you can reject every single one of those people who makes that argument out of hand. Yeah. Don't listen to them. They don't count. They don't matter. They don't get to have a conversation about this. You show them the picture of the Charlottesville Nazis. Are these bad guys? And if they go, well, out. You're out. You just need like an umpire to be like, out of here. Yeah. Fucking red card. Straight red, you're out. Gone. You no comment. Yeah. You don't get to have any comment about that. The definition that was voted on today, it carried in the House with an overwhelming majority, nearly unanimous. There was 2 votes against it. Do you want to know who they were?
I have an idea.
It was alleged child rapist Matt Gaetz and Space Laser Green. The reason they didn't want to vote for it is because one of the provisions in this said accusing Jews of murdering Jesus is anti-Semitic. And it is. Don't say that shit. Both of them said it's in the Bible, therefore that's okay. And we can't vote for that. So those people, those leaders of the Republican Party, 2 people, the 2 who give MAGA Mike his majority, he's got a 2-vote majority, it's them. Those 2, Marjorie, who thinks she dictates how the speaker goes, voted against protecting Jewish people from that kind of language. They said that that's out of bounds. You have to be allowed to accuse us of being Jesus killers, which maybe didn't even happen. I mean, you guys are just like stories. It's all stories,
it's all
right?
Stories, man.
It's so ludicrous. This is a time where things are fraught. There's a lot of anger, a lot of feelings, a lot of powder getting ready to blow on a lot of sides of this. And the only thing that keeps it down is nuance.
Yeah.
And it would kill all y'all to just talk to each other. Take some time, read a book, ask somebody.
The cynic in me, and I hate to be this sometimes, it's like back to a lot of things. Like, do people really care as well too? Like
it's in vogue to be mad about this.
Because also too, like, we do pick and choose when we get upset at this, because I could go through a variety of other places around the world, whether it's Sudan right now, whether it's the Uyghurs, whether it's Burma, like there's a lot of this going on. And I mean, this conflict is just, which is very sad, I hate to say it this way, has kind of been in vogue in this country for a long time. And it's just this one always it always riles people up, and I teeter sometimes in between, like, if you don't look for the nuance in it, is it like, as it's been throughout history that I know it, easy target. And the Netanyahu government makes themselves an easy target for this.
Netanyahu government is reprehensible. I mean,
they make a group of people, which is very sad that they don't represent the people, like in their own fucking state or globally for the rest of
he's going to lose the next election. It's 100% going to happen.
Yeah.
If you're out there at Columbia protesting Benjamin Netanyahu and saying he's got to go, you're probably not going to meet with a lot of resistance. Nobody's going to arrest you for that.
No. And I do think that, like, that is where some of the issues are. And if he's gone, maybe there is a way, there's a path forward. But this shit is complicated. And if we're back here again in 30 years, sadly, it wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise anybody. Yeah. I mean, for example, there was a convoy of aid that was coming from Jordan, tracking through the West Bank, which is occupied territory. It was attacked by settlers. Okay. Yeah. Not by.
But also, too, we've seen sanctions on these settlers, which is something I've never seen before.
Which has never come from the United States
before. I've never seen that before. So, I mean, is that something I can look at and be like, all right.
Some of which are members of the government.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot going on where
the land of settlers out here putting sanctions on settlers is crazy.
It is, right? That's really funny.
It's very crazy to me. I was like, what? Like, again, that, like, not voting in the UN that one, that's kind of insane.
Abstaining from that, I've never seen that happen before.
Never seen that.
The United States
is that a very unique area. Like,
yeah, this is a shift. This is a shift. Israel has gotten so
but this
powerful.
This is a steamliner, y'all.
This
isn't no speedboat.
No,
it's a steamliner.
And it don't turn on a dime.
It doesn't.
But there's something changing here.
Yeah.
And it's clear that Netanyahu's gone way too far, and he doesn't have the support that he needs. And his own government is paper thin at best. It depends on these frankly racist fascists as a part of his coalition to hold it together. We are ready to change our paradigm here, but if you're throwing things at kids wearing yarmulkes, you're gonna keep the paradigm from shifting. I hate that it sounds like I'm telling people how to protest, and I hate that it sounds like I'm telling them that they need to accept slow incrementalism. But you need to be a little more careful and just take a little more time to understand this more deeply, and you will be able to move the needle.
I think some of the nuance then comes in is that we sit on this side and we push, but they also push back. And
you're seeing it.
And this push keeps happening. And I don't know where it ends, but it did deep inside of me is like, I feel like both of these pushes should eventually get us to that middle ground. It should happen.
Yeah, but what you don't want to do is fracture the left, which is generally in favor of peace and stability and governance and democracy and representation in that area and at home, at the expense of giving the evangelicals some wild ass shit to come after in their fake proclamation of supporting Israel. We don't need to let them have a rallying cry. Don't give it to them, and just shift the words. Shift the words. Protest Netanyahu. Go after him. He's the bad guy here. Don't go after Israel. Israel's not the bad guy. Netanyahu is the bad guy. Right? America is not the bad guy in Iraq. George Bush is the bad guy. George Bush invaded Iraq. We didn't. Did you invade Iraq?
No.
I did not invade Iraq. I haven't been to Iraq.
Left school.
I tried very hard to not be part of that. I didn't want any part of that. I tried very hard to make the rest of everybody come home. That was a bad decision. Shouldn't have happened. But it wasn't me. And I don't like being lumped in with that.
This is not 1968. I think there are two main reasons for me that it's not 1968. It's probably three, because I think This war is completely different than what Vietnam is.
And we're not the ones fighting in it.
Yeah, and there were also 2 assassinations that year that were very different. Again, and I'll be honest, again, love the youth to death, love the folks in this country to death. No one is built like that anymore.
No.
No one is built like that, me included.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to say, like, but the events of that year are kind of one that's it's a unique thing that is not now.
Some of our parents were there. You can go ask them.
It's not the same. And also what I'll say as well, too, I've said this before, I tie this back in because this is an election year. Protest vote in November could lead to when protests like this happen under the other guy, end up getting shot.
Right.
And I'm telling you this now, it might sound like hyperbole, kind of want the ability to keep occupying these fucking buildings.
He told Time Magazine
exactly.
in that interview, he's like, if this
almost
happened while Trump is president, everybody in Colombia is gunned down dead. They're just gonna that was amazing. I mean, if you thought that the tear gas in the park in DC was over the line, that's gonna be live ammo.
If you want to keep pushing Joe Biden to make changes, the only way you can continue to do that is have Joe Biden in office. There is no other options right now.
That's right.
I get it. You want another option. There is no other options at this. There is another option, actually. There is another option. So you can choose that option if you want.
Yeah, but that other option.
I could also lead that gentleman also
wants to call it the National Guard.
And also has caused even some of this rift. I do think the moving under that embassy as well, too, that comes under his, right? Like some of those things that have been U.S. policy, right? Again, small things, not huge, but like, just like, yo, we don't want to ruffle anything.
That's not a small thing.
It is a huge, exactly, that's a huge thing. I don't know, but like, people might look at it and be like an embassy being moved.
They don't understand.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that was done very strategic.
It was done specifically to piss people off.
Yeah.
It was done to enrage and infuriate and inflame the situation. It wasn't done for any reasonable reason.
No. And at the end of the day,
it was throwing a match into a pile of gunpowder.
There's a grand deal that needs to be made between the United States the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Right.
It's for me, and I noticed I'm trying to make this very simple and easy.
But this is out there making that deal now. Like it's happening.
Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, it's very lucrative for them. It can make that region into a different region.
Can get them out of oil.
They're making
diversify their economy.
Make a different type of region there. It's
MBS is trying.
It's the obvious end, and I'm saying that
we just got to make friends with MBS. Don't you know?
I'm saying that as well too. As an avid reader of the Washington Post, where again, some of us are gonna have to go ahead and give up. Like there's some like morality checks that things are being made. Like that happens over the time.
We may have to make friends with the Saudis and kind of forget about, bone saws.
Which is crazy.
But if it keeps a lid on this, it's maybe worth it.
Yes, it is.
That's nuance.
And it's terrible too.
Oh, yeah.
This doesn't feel good.
Hey, it's Kissinger all over again.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't he say, sometimes you got to make these deals. They're all reprehensible, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, which one can you...
Which is worse?
Yeah. And I get that's hard to digest. And I get that.
I get it also. If you're an idealistic person, whether young or old or otherwise, it's hard to be told that your idealism is not practical. Because to you, it seems like it's obvious.
And it's necessary in the sense, again, to push.
We're not going to get ideals.
We might not get all of we might not get all of it.
You might only get 5%, but that's more than you got.
I would love a voting rights bill.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen right now. That's just not,
Again, not telling you to accept incrementalism. I'm just saying that sometimes that is the net result. We just got to be a little more careful. All right. We beat that horse to death.
Yeah.
Nuance. You want to do a Tez talk about nuance?
I don't have.
No. Okay. Good. He's even less prepared than usual.
I tell you, I just gave you as much nuance on that last.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
That's like a Tez talk. All right. Trump trial updates. I guess
that's the news.
Yeah.
There it is.
All right. So Donald Trump was in court. He got found in contempt.
Good.
Oh, did another one come through? They had a hearing on it today.
Good.
You got found on in contempt, nine counts.
Yeah.
It amounts
They're
to
going
$9,000 fine. There's 4 more counts that are still under consideration. And of course, he had a rally yesterday, 2 rallies yesterday.
Oh, that means contempt. No, that's contempt. That's a contempt concert.
So
that's these rallies are.
He's out there running up the tab. So Judge Merchan told him, he's like, look, the maximum penalty I can impose here is $1,000 or 30 days in jail per incident. I get that $1,000 per incident doesn't mean much to somebody like Donald Trump. I don't actually think he's got a lot of money, but he's got people who are willing to pay it, as we found out, David Becker.
RNC.
Yeah, right. Eric finally showed up at the trial. He had one family member there. It's good for him. I think he's married to the one called Laura, who's in charge of the RNC.
His wife didn't show up to support him.
No. Wonder why.
That'd be so awkward.
$130,000.
That'd be so awkward. Give it up. Anyway, just go.
Mel, why are you here, Mel?
He was very cheap with his behavior.
Yeah.
She just looks, glares.
Would love that as the surprise witness of the prosecution. Call Melania.
Oh my God.
They could do it too.
They easily could do it.
Yeah. So, all right. So Trump was found in contempt, 9 counts. And the judge was like, look, I know that this money doesn't mean enough. So, just remember that there could be a jail sentence attached to this.
And the whole Secret Service groans.
And they were like, oh, shit, how are we going to do? Because they know he's going to do it.
Yeah.
The details of that can be sort of worked out later. He also kept falling asleep. This is now at this point, well documented. So here are the methods that they're using to try to keep him awake. One is when the lawyers have a sidebar, they leave one of them behind with him. Because when they leave him behind, he just slumps over and goes to sleep.
To nudge police.
Yes. Another one is they gave him papers to shuffle through. Now, a lot of people have made fun of this and said, oh, well, that's just going to make him even more sleepy because, reading through dull papers. Donald Trump doesn't do screens. He doesn't do computers at all. Everything has to be printed out for him. So if you want
his phone, though, he got his phone.
Yeah, he tweets with but
he truths.
Whatever. But one of the things that everybody knows about him is you can keep his interest if it's about him. So when the video was him talking, he was very attentive. When the people are discussing him, he's very attentive. So if you want him, and during his time in the White House, the security briefing guys learned this too. If you want him to read the thing that you give him, as long as you have his name in it a bunch of times, he'll pay attention. So giving him a stack of papers about good things about him is a great way to keep him engaged and staying awake. It's like giving your kid a tablet playing Cocomelon. He's way into it, right? So they're trying that. They're also trying to manage what he eats, and all of these things to try to keep him awake. It's not working.
No.
Now he's going out telling everybody he's just closing his eyes or whatever. He's listening.
Meditating.
Yeah, meditating. Right.
Yeah,
that was
so
one
angry.
Yeah. Okay. One, I can't believe I'm going to say this. To be fair to Donald Trump, I am personally somebody who often doesn't like to look at the person who's speaking because it distracts me from what they're saying. So I will often either look away or look down or close my eyes because I am an auditory person.
Right.
I get the world through my ears. Support your local public radio stations. But I don't think Trump is that. I don't know that he gets the world through anything, but it's possible. I'm just giving, nuance. Here's the other great stupid Republican trick. Okay. There's this place called South Dakota. You heard of it? It's right under North Dakota.
North Dakota, famed for Gateway computers.
Yeah. Was it?
I'm pretty sure they came out
I
of
thought they were made of cows and from Iowa or something like that.
No, that's North Dakota. It's definitely North Dakota. It's not South Dakota.
Okay. Well, anyway,
research.
South Dakota, if only you had a box in front of you that could tell you the answer. South Dakota is one of those square states, and it has a governor who is called Kristi Noem. And we learned 2 important things about Kristi Noem this week. One is that she went to Texas to get her teeth fixed and cut them a 5-minute infomercial about that rather than any of the dentists in her home state that she's governor of. 2, actually 3 things we learned about her. Number 2, she wrote a book. I was as shocked as you.
What?
Yeah, you're going to have to read it because, you and the books.
Yes.
But in that book,
South Dakota.
that's where Gateway's from.
Both
in Iowa.
Both
I see. I
You
know
got
it
it.
wasn't crazy. In that book, she detailed a story that I don't want to detail on this show. But the key point of this was she had a puppy. Keyword puppy. Not dog,
Puppy.
not grown dog, 14-month-old puppy named Cricket, who she wanted to be a hunting dog, but was not good at it and was, in her words, untrainable. And she couldn't deal with it. Rather than rehoming the dog, calling the animal rescue, which George Conway looked up and posted on Twitter today, it was like 2.6 miles away from her home. It was really, and in South Dakota, that's really close.
That's close, yeah.
Because holy shit, everything in South Dakota is far apart.
Yeah.
That's really close. She didn't call that animal rescue. She didn't do anything like that. She didn't just make it not a hunting dog. She didn't. What did she do to the dog, Tez?
Used the Second Amendment right.
Mm-hmm.
Shot it.
Took it out to the gravel pit and shot it. And then she wrote it down in a book proudly that she shot the dog.
That sounds like one of them Arizona laws back in the day when you used to be able to do that. You can't. I don't think you can do that no more. I think you can go shoot your animal out the back. And usually people shot it when the animal's about to die anyways.
Right.
It wasn't put
putting
it out
the
of
dog
its
out of its misery. This dog is 14 months old. I have puppies. I have dogs. I've raised them from puppies several times. Have you ever had a puppy?
Yes, multiple puppies. How do
Okay.
you do that?
And
Can you shoot a puppy?
First of all, puppies are the cutest thing on the
Yeah.
planet. And like, this was a unique thing. It united the left and right. Janine Pirro was all over Fox News yelling about, I can't believe she did this. Steve Bannon, the story we have here is about how Steve Bannon called her crazy and said that shooting the dog was not ideal.
Michael Vick found this out the hard way, y'all.
Yeah.
Saying.
I mean,
He was killing too, but he wasn't shooting him.
Yeah, but he's black.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right.
I forgot.
Yeah, I forgot. Remember what country you live in?
I forgot.
It's not Britain.
No.
So, all right. So, like, why would you shoot the dog in the first place? But then why would you tell everybody about it when you're trying to get the VP nod? Like, that's a bad move, man. And I know that Trump hates dogs. We know, everybody knows that Trump hates dogs, which is disqualifying on its face. Presidents that don't like dogs, bad.
Crazy.
Lots of presidents have had a dog.
Yeah.
Joe Biden's had several. You know what he didn't do to them? Shoot him. You know what they did do? Bite some people.
They bought him.
You know what they did? They just moved them away. They took them away from
They
you.
can't live here no more. They have to go somewhere.
They got to go someplace.
That dog was biting everybody.
But they didn't shoot him.
Yeah, they didn't shoot him. Not the Secret Service.
No. And they got guns. Okay, you've had puppies.
Yes.
Do they bite?
I guess you call it that.
Yeah, I mean, they chew on everything.
They're always teething.
Chewing on you.
Yeah.
Especially those little puppy teeth. They're so sharp. They're like little needles.
It's,
They're like, once they grow real teeth, it doesn't hurt so bad.
No,
they still
it
chew on you, though.
Yeah.
And they nibble on everything. They nibble. They're puppies.
Part of having a dog.
Right. And you teach them, they nibble on you. No, don't do that. Or, grab their mouth back. And there's lots of ways that don't involve a gun.
Shooting. Shit, we can go back to beating the dogs if we're going to shoot them. For God's sakes, at least the dog's alive. What? Why are we shooting puppies? This wasn't a dog. Let's stop saying dog. Sorry, a puppy.
Puppy. It's a puppy.
The hell?
Named Cricket.
It's a good dog name, too.
Yeah.
Poor Cricket.
Even JD Vance was like mad about this.
Wow.
Yeah, you got to be a special kind of asshole for JD Vance to hate you. He got caught in a good one, though. He was on CNN, Caitlin Collins. She's turning out to be a pretty good reporter. I'm a little shocked about that because she used to work for that Nazi newspaper. But she was like, so you think that smashing property and, destroying things to gain access to buildings is bad and that they should be prosecuted? And he goes, absolutely. And she goes, so why did you get all this money for these January 6th guys? And he's like, You guys love to talk about things that happened 3 years ago.
Oh,
They're like, oh, no. She's like, I'm not talking about old things. I just want to square this circle. Why is it that you think that this is okay and that's not? And he had some word salad, a bunch of bullshit, whatever. Nice. Gotcha. Love it. All right. Arizona. Back to Arizona. It's an update. Remember last week we said that the House in Arizona passed the repeal
of it
on the abortion ban
Yep.
from the 1860s. Well, the Senate voted for it yesterday, and it passed with 2 Republicans supporting and all the Democrats. That means that all the rest of the Republicans wanted to keep a law in the books that would ban women. Let's just be clear about that. Yeah, I mean,
I feel comfortable with that.
That's fair. One of the 2 Republicans who voted for this, for the repeal, it's important to note, is married to one of the judges on the Arizona Supreme Court that upheld this law. It gets better.
Dinner table.
She told 3 stories during her 20-minute floor speech about women who had had procedures that this law would have meant that they would have been thrown in prison for. They were miscarriages or, fetal deaths where they had to have a DNC or, they needed medication to induce the miscarriage or whatever. All of these fetal abnormalities, terrible, heart-wrenching stories. At the end of her 20 minutes, she revealed to everybody that all 3 of those stories were about her, which presumably her husband was there for as well, and still voted to uphold this law.
They don't care.
Didn't care.
They don't care.
There's 100% chance she's getting divorced when she gets home.
Yes.
Because that asshole voted to put her in prison for a thing that he lived through.
And again, this is probably not uncommon across the party.
Across anybody.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. Well, yeah.
This is just a fact of pregnancy and, the dangers of pregnancy in this country.
Yeah.
And anywhere, really. Not having access to medical care can cost lives. The Party of Life wants it to happen. They want those women to die doing what?
And they also don't want to have in this case, once you go to term with it, the child, they don't want them to survive either because they're always against the laws that
they don't want a child tax
safety
credits
net or anything. Yeah,
and WIC and all that stuff. No, they hate. Yeah, the Party of Life obviously is only concerned about constraining women. They are not interested in life, children, families, any of that stuff. It's all bullshit. If they ever say it, they're lying to you, which means everything else they lie to you
because
about.
you're lying.
That's why. But I didn't know when I grabbed this story that family dynamic thing had
really
happened,
wild.
but I learned about that later. Man, I just don't know. Even if it wasn't even in your own family, just like an acquaintance or somebody you knew, that should be enough to move you as a human being.
But it's bigger than that. It's about power, right?
Over your own wife.
Yeah.
I mean,
obvious.
Is that a wife? Or a pet?
Yeah, I would.
I mean, you're going to take it out to the gravel pit and shoot it because
right.
it has too many abortions because it has miscarriages. Maybe your sperm sucks. I
mean, that's the other thing we probably don't talk about. We're talking about women not being able to. Maybe it's the men. Maybe
it's as likely that as the others.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's bad politics. It's bad policy.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it's going to be repealed. It's going to save a lot of lives, which is important. I hope that the ballot initiative continues on because I think that's going to help get a lot of votes for Democrats.
Yes.
Up ticket. And I think it's also going to, help punish Arizona for being a bunch of backward ass bumpkins. What kind of bullshit, and they're not the only one. There's several states. Florida's 6-week ban goes into effect now.
But here's the thing, right? In Arizona, I think of Phoenix, right? I think of how these...
One of the fastest growing cities in the country.
Right. I think of the CHIPS Act. I think of the plants that are being built there and do you think you're gonna attract workers with laws like this? Like, and especially some of the companies that might go there, like an Intel, like that. Do you think that's gonna work out for you?
No.
Like, and there's like bigger issues with like where the hell's the water gonna come from? Like, and we're worried about, like, again, and they're digging up fucking laws from.
Yeah, they might find something on there that says Cletus gets all the water in, the whole northeast part of the state.
Yeah, and his
And he
estate
does.
comes in and he takes all the water.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know
hustling
where,
backwards at the
It's
highest.
highest level. I don't understand why. I do understand because, again, like this issue, but it's not even that anymore. This issue drives out votes for Democrats.
Good. I mean, I don't even know why they cared about this. Why anybody ever cared about this.
After Dobbs, I would be like, yeah, I don't want to talk about abortion anymore because it's a losing issue, and I would sweep it under the rug, and it would never be something I talk about.
Right. Yeah, you would.
Even if I passed the laws, it would be very like it wouldn't be as blatant as like
you wouldn't be out there cheering
for, man. It's very weird.
Thanks, Mike Pence.
Yeah.
Speaking of things about cheering, sports. Sports. There you go. So you're a baseball guy.
I do. I love me.
You love the baseball.
Yeah.
I love the baseball.
Yes.
Brian loves baseball.
Yes.
The Orioles, speaking of which, been on a bit of a tear.
Yeah.
Now, before our next show will be the first of the Beltway series.
Oh yeah.
It's 2 games of the real ChipChat Derby.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about your prospects?
CJ Abrams looks delightful.
He can hit.
Yeah. He's turning into
do you
a
have
bona fide
any
star.
pitchers?
Mitchell Parker, very good, 2-0. He came into the show and won 2 games. I think he might have pitched 6 scoreless his last outing.
Does he stand a chance, Brian? The Nats against us.
Actually, Mitchell Parker might have lost today because they lost to the Rangers.
Nats, they've been some of the teams
500. That's all.
They're playing above water. It'll be. I mean, I don't know why they keep playing 2 games.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just what they do.
2s and 2s now.
But if they do it, I don't know why did
because these travel days and stuff.
I don't know
That's
why
we
they
had a
didn't-
1 o'clock today,
Yeah.
so that they could get
it's
to
like
Cincinnati.
ever since the interleague, it's like this is the only team they faced National League wise. They faced just 2 times.
The
Well, no,
last-
we're playing Cincinnati
Well, no,
tomorrow.
what I'm saying is like all the other National League teams, they'll
Oh, are
get
in
3 or
3-game
4 game
series.
series.
Yeah.
Against the Nats, it's just 2 on
They
both
do
home
2
and
and
home.
2 because it's because it's local. They don't have to travel.
It's stupid. Anyway,
They've done the 3
answer-
once before though. I went
it
to
was a long time ago.
It was a long.
but
I remember
lately-
they used
I
to do
think
it
that
on
was
more.
when they had like an interleague break. Though.
Break though,
Yeah,
yeah. And they used to do
now
it.
they just fit it in anytime.
Yeah. So, but officially, if the Nats lose, they'll just. I mean, if that's correct. If the O's lose, it'll just probably be 1. They'll probably split it. But
You think it's a split?
honestly, I think the Orioles will.
They
crush
should.
them.
You guys
They
should.
should.
We should win.
Should.
So we're gonna just stay tuned for that next week of relentlessly shaming Tez, which now we're gonna lose because I'm
Yeah,
I'm
you
overly
set that up.
confident.
You set that one up. I don't know. I'm happy. I mean, I'm happy with the Nationals. I'm not happy with the jerseys.
So that's what we want to talk about. Baseball. They made a deal with Nike for these jerseys.
Which the earlier Nike jerseys, when they got it, were all right. I
Yeah,
know
they were
issues with
fine.
those. Fine.
But these ones, they got a big problem. What's the problem?
Fucking sweat stain. It looks terrible.
They're see-through,
yeah, well, they're see-through, yes.
and the pants are see-through.
The pants are see-through. That's the issue there. And the tops are friggin' this. It looks disgusting. Nike is the company of dry fit. There
Yeah.
should be no sweat.
Whatever the fabric is that they're made of, it's showing the sweat, and on the pants,
They're showing others.
it's showing everything.
Yeah.
And so if ball players sweat,
Yeah.
they're out there playing baseball.
It's hot.
It's hot.
It's gonna get hotter.
It's gonna get hotter. And look, you played baseball.
Yes.
It's a sweaty game.
It's just sweat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like curling where we're nice and cold while we're playing, or golf where you hardly doing anything. But like,
Hey.
hey, you're riding around in a cart. I know about that. But Baseball is work. You know, you're sweating, and you don't really get to go inside or cool off or anything. You got to go hang on a dugout where you're just fucking sweaty. Everything's sweat. See-through uniforms. How do they not catch this? How do they not test this and see it? And they ever like wash them and be like, oh, they're wet. I can see right through them.
But the problem is with Nike and Fanatics.
Why is Nike? Still don't understand, right? And I get Michael Rubin is obviously tied in, like, because he was even with the Sixers, right? He was with the Sixers there before. Like, I get this could be like some high level shit where it's like, hey, we need to like, as like Nike being godfather of all this apparel shit here, and the Fanatics being, I mean, it almost seems like Fanatics maybe has a better infrastructure in the way they get shit out. It seems that for me.
But that's the problem. It's the simple fact of of this mass production.
Like Fashion Nova.
They're moving too fast, so they're using really low quality fabric.
Right. So you're pretty much getting one, I believe, hopefully like right now, I think one of the teams, they finally got their proper pants for their alternate jerseys. Because they have worn it for a while, for pretty much all season, and because of the fact of the pants weren't ready. So things like this, I mean, mind you, when with the Nike deal, when they got it, to me, I'm not really fond of it fully. I mean, mind you, I'm okay with like the City Connect stuff and
those first 2 years were okay.
Yeah, we're okay, but now it's getting to the point where when you're making all these changes,
why is Fanatics involved with this?
It's just a distribution.
Yeah, it's all about distribution.
The ones making the stuff.
Yeah, but it's still when you're doing.
How does they keep taking the hit for this?
But that's the thing. It's because their name is on it, and they're the point of sale.
Yeah,
and
with
it says
all
Fanatics.
Yeah, and with all the mass production they make for those jerseys for fans, you know, pretty much the quality. They're trying to beat out certain people who have discounts, because mind you, a normal, let's say, authentic jersey should be like up between to almost $250.
Yeah, at least.
But as I go through, you know, Instagram or wherever, you see deals that like 80% off on stuff like that, and they're trying to, in a weird way, try to put that out there. But honestly, yeah, you're in a way you're hurting yourself. You're hurting your business partners by doing, you know, cheap material shit. And
I don't understand why they changed the material. They had the contract for 2 years. It was working. It was all fine.
Yeah.
Why change anything?
I don't know. This is even the Major League the player associations are confused.
That's the thing. The union is like, what's going on here?
Yeah, they don't. Because really, Nikes do not have the answer.
Obviously, this is going to improve viewership amongst female fans.
This is where like
they'll
the
make
need
cuff
for
checks a lot easier.
They always need to friggin' like this goes into the whole like growth, and we always
gotta have something new, gotta do something different. Everything you can't never just repeat what you did. I don't know.
Like the old Majestic jerseys are better than these.
Oh yeah,
hands down.
Oh yeah, or the Russell Athletics.
These Russell ones these are better. Like
Majestic.
Go the Rollings.
And the Majestic ones felt good. You know, like
but it's so confusing that Nike should be able to do
they
this
should
correctly.
Be better at this.
They should be. You don't get the contract and then butcher it this way. Like, and again, for the performance, like, I get like, yeah, for me wanting to go ahead and wear a jersey outside, I'm talking about the players.
Yeah, that should be the highest level quality.
Time.
Should be
every
the highest quality fabric there is. You know who makes really good quality stuff and is specifically designed to deal with that? Under Armour.
They do.
You know, and I'm not, you know, playing favorites just because they're a Baltimore company, but like
they do.
This is an opportunity for them to come and eat Nike's lunch. Like, how do you fuck this up so bad?
Well, if you look at, think of the business structure, how they do it for college sports, because Under Armour has been slowly growing within there. Even though, you know, Nike will, get North Carolina, Duke, all that stuff. And whatever,
Oregon, University of
Colorado,
Nike.
you know, they get the Nike
Maryland's
schools.
Going to get Under Armour. So, you know,
Maryland's got Under Armour.
It's two ends of the Big Ten now.
Right. So, but the thing is like when you allow Under Armour to, you know, be sneaking in there, get those, at least get some decent deals from decent places. And then, but if Nike, like you said, screwing up, especially in baseball. I mean, baseball, there's no other company like in other sports that would, but it's like you exclusively have baseball and you're covering you got 30 teams and you mess up like this. This is the first year, and you say, "Oh, we'll fix it all going into next season." And it's like you should never change now. You can't. I mean, you pretty much
go back 2 years. What you need to do.
Go get your old pants.
Yes, and pretty much Bryce Harper had to do that.
Yeah,
it's like look, fuck this. I'm going back to my urgency 2 years ago because it still has my number on it, even though the name's different.
They have to play in these clothes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not
for
it
next
has
5
to be
months.
performance. But it's not a fashion thing. Like that's the thing.
But that's the problem. The thing is they see fashion profit. They're most
with their fashion. I don't want it to have sweat stains when I go outside.
But here's the thing. But they're not looking at the players.
Doing anything.
But they're not looking at players. They're looking at fans, and that's why with the mass productions and all that stuff, and Fanatics involvement, that's where it is. That's where they're full focus. I believe that's how I'm seeing this. Is why you're seeing a lot of the missed opportunities.
I think if they took their eye off the ball and forgot that these are uniforms for baseball. They're not clothing. These are it's like it's equipment. It'd be like if all of a sudden Louisville Slugger was just like, yeah, we're just gonna make them out of plastic now. We're like, it's faster and cheaper. We don't care. Like, no, it has to work. The bat's got to work. The ball's got to work. The uniform's got to work.
Hey, I've seen an exploded ball this season, so
yeah, but generally, All right, Virginia strikes a blow for NIL. Virginia will pass a law saying that schools can pay their athletes directly through NIL.
Good.
Yeah, good.
Look at Youngkin.
It's well, he didn't write it, but look at Louise Lucas.
Yes.
But this is setting a model. It's 100% sure that the other 49 states are going to jump on this if it doesn't just become the absolute standard. I'm happy. I'm proud of the Commonwealth. Yeah, it's a good step. It'll allow us to get out from the cheeseburger bullshit.
Maybe we can do an NIL deal.
Who's we? The Nats?
No, us.
Oh, ChipChat. Yeah, for sure. We'll get
peppercorns.
Right. All right. You hear that music? Right. That means we've come to the end.
Wow.
Yeah, we're close on
only
time.
7 minutes over for the new on time.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not double plus ungood. All right. So thanks to Tom for making us better at talking. That was very helpful.
Really good. Really good.
So we're going to send links, Finale Entertainment and all that stuff. You got to follow him and get his new YouTube channel. Tom Talks, TED Talks, something or other. We'll find
We'll post it.
Yeah, I'm not that good at radio. Thanks to our radio partners, Google, WBAL, Spotify, all those guys. One of those is real.
What is it, 2 truths and a lie?
Yeah. That's exactly right. Thanks to NOTN for keeping their tower transmitting. Maybe. Don't know. Haven't checked. Thanks to our home on the interwebs, CoPlayMedia.com. And thanks, as always, to our family here at Beltway Radio for making us sound as smooth as Eric Adams.
I'm the club mayor.
Yeah. He's like, I was a protester too. And you can ask Al Sharpton. I was out there with him. I'm like, dude, nah.
You're the police.
You are the popo. You can't be that. Come on, Eric. I get that you want to be everything to everybody.
Can't
be that. Just can't be. You the man.
He should have been the nightmare. Seems to be.
He would have been better at it.
The nightmare.
Alexandria nightmare and friend of the show, John Chapman, running for re-election. Please go vote for him if you live in City Alexandria. So he's going to come back. Actually, he was going to announce his his bid. Yeah, but then we had a scheduling conflict. But I got the text message. I'll show you. Anyway, all right. Where can everybody find you on the social medias and stuff?
You can find me on Instagram at Ketchum Corder. You can find me on X or Twitter, whatever we're calling it today, at DC Cortez. You can find me also, always being a flaming liberal, on Blue Sky at DC Cortez.
All right. And you can find me and the show on the Twitter at ChipChatRR. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram at RipChipChat. And you can, of course, find us every Thursday night here on Beltway Radio and Beyond at 9:30. I'm Chip. That's Tez. That's Brian. You've been listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweet.
Chip Chat Radio. We got so much, so give you the news in case you didn't know. Keep the public well informed of the topic. Sometimes the news today is hard to process. That's why Chip and Tez will help you out, let you know what we're all about. We may tell jokes, we may drink a cup,